Hi there, what's up, guys? I hope you're doing fine. This is Mental Generations with teacher Andy, and in today's class, we are going to study variation. Now, imagine a world where every individual of a species was an exact replica of the next. No unique traits, no differences in resilience or skill. It might sound like a perfectly orderly society, but in reality, it would be a genetic dead zone. Think about that. Now enter the fascinating realm of genetic variation, where diversity isn't just an interesting quirk, but the cornerstone of life's adaptability and survival. Now, genetic variation is the secret ingredient in nature's recipe for resilience and innovation. It's the force behind why some people can endure extreme conditions, why certain animals can outwit predators, and why plants can thrive in diverse environments. And it is the reason why you are unique. You are who you are because that's who you are, You're not like any other person. From the dazzling array of colors in a butterfly's wings to the subtle differences in human immunity, genetic variation fuels the evolutionary engine that drives species forward. This variation is not just about making life colorful. It's more than that. It's about survival. It's about our very own survival as species or as organisms, living organisms on the earth, on planet Earth for that matter. Now, in the face of evolving threats, matters like climate change, shifting landscape, genetic diversity is nature's toolkit for crafting solutions and strategies. For what again? Survival. It's what allows species to adapt, endure, and flourish against the odds. So, buckle up as we dive into the intriguing world of genetic variation, where every gene, every mutation, and every unique trait plays a critical role in the grand symphony of life. Discover how this dynamic interplay shapes the living world and why it's essential for our future. So without wasting time, let us dive in to what is variation. Now, what is variation? What comes to your mind when we are talking about variation? Well, and just to start, what differences and similarities do you observe between yourself and the next person to you? Remember, we're talking about how each organism is unique in its own way. So we're going to look at the differences and similarities that you would observe just from you, like the person next to you, your relatives, your parents, your friends, your acquaintances, and just what you see around you. What are those differences? Think about that even as we push through with this lesson. So what is variation? It is the differences between members of the same species. So the key word here is differences. So it is the differences between members of the same species. Differences and then same species. So the differences of members between the same species. Now, is variation the differences between members of different species? No. So it has to be within species. Those differences that we observe within species. As an example, humans are all members of which species? The Homo sapiens. But that's like the genus and species name. So we have the sapiens as the species name right there when you look at the scientific naming. And our characteristics still vary a lot. There's a lot of variation in terms of how we are, what we look like, even across skin color, race, eye color, height, everything, just everything. So I need you to try and identify the difference between the children on this clip. I'm just gonna let it play. Do you see what kind of variations do you see? So what kind of variations do you observe? There are so many differences. There is height, there is hair color, some of them wear glasses like the one right here, all right, and many others. But what causes these variations? Well, there are two major causes, broadly divided into two major groups. There could be genetic causes, which happen within the genes, and environmental causes. So variation occurs between individuals of the same species occurs due to either genetic causes or environmental causes. Look at an example of this grapevine. It grows well due to having a good genetic makeup, so its genes are resistant to disease. And it also, it's doing well, or it's growing well, depends on receiving good amount of sunlight. So that's environment right there, on the receiving good amount of sunlight. That's what makes it grow like that. And the other one is genetic, having a good genetic makeup. Look at this picture, for example. We have these two identical twins, Polly and Penny. They are identical fine, phenotypically from what we see, but their genetic makeup is exactly the same. However, they still have differences. For example, Penny has a scar on her elbow from a fall. We can see that here, but there are so many differences that are visible too environmentally. Now, a classical example in this situation would be identical twins, one raised in a wealthy family and another raised in poverty, like real serious true poverty. When I say poverty, true poverty, I'm not just saying poverty, true poverty. Do you think they will turn out the same? Of course, we have aspects of them that will remain the same, like probably their physical features to some extent, but then again, because of their environment that they grow up in, there may be differences. So we are talking about reasons for variations would be genetic makeup and environmental makeup as well. So we have two types of variations, and this is based on data collected. So the data we collect about variation helps us to categorize, or makes us have two categories of variation or types of variation amongst members of the same species, and that is continuous or discontinuous variation. So the type of variation that we would have if we collected data on height, arm span, foot length of this group of friends right here, we would end up with continuous variation, because we're going to have values ranging from maximum to minimum. It's quite spread. It's smooth, like it's, you know, it could be any height, it could be any length at all, like it could be any number when it comes to those specific traits. So that is continuous. It's actually smooth. It gives a kind of graph, as I will explain in a little bit. Now, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you have any questions on variation? Are you struggling with this topic? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Whatever you're struggling with, just lay it on in the comment section. I will respond. And please subscribe to the channel if you find this information useful. So data of continuous variation is represented using either a line graph or a bar graph. Now we typically draw a line of best fit through them most times, especially for a line graph. So continuous data usually gives a normal distribution curve, which looks like this. So data on continuous variations give rise to a bell-shaped graph, also known as a normal distribution curve. Now, this is an example of continuous data on height, for a number of people, and you have less than 129, you have this data set of 130 to 134, 135 to 139, all the way to 175 and above. And it gives a normal distribution curve where you have that kind of shape. What type of variation is it if we collect data on eye color, blood group, hair color, and ability to roll the tongue? It is obviously discontinuous variation. So the data we collect from this type of these traits can be grouped into distinct levels. There are no intermediaries between. Somebody is either a tongue roller or not. Somebody either has one particular kind of trait or not, the eye color. Somebody has just a particular type of blood group. We don't have intermediaries. It is either blood group A, B, AB, or O. So those are examples of discontinuous variations. It involves traits that are either present or absent with no intermediate. In examples of discontinuous variations, such as hair color and ability to roll the tongue, a person can only belong to one category, for example. They cannot be either or. Somebody is either a tongue roller or not. So we usually plot data on discontinuous variations using bar charts. Since bar graphs, since they are a distinct group, there is no need to draw a line of best fit. So that's how it normally goes when it comes to discontinuous variation. In blood group, for example, this is a type of discontinuous variation. The distribution of the 4 blood types, A, B, AB, and O, varies in populations throughout the world. Look at this chart. Look at the chart to determine which blood group is the least common in the world. It is AB, and which one is the most common? It is O. So that's just how discontinuous variations are, for example, in the case of blood group. So what examples of continuous and discontinuous variation would you expect to find if you surveyed your class? So do that survey and let me know what you came up with in the comment section. What examples of continuous and discontinuous variations would you expect to find if you did a survey in your class? It would be interesting just to know you gave this a try. And yeah, go ahead and do so. If I could, I would actually reward students who would go ahead and do this. And it's something I'm thinking about. I mean, I'm thinking about students who are like hands-on and are like putting effort into their learning. So today we have learned about variation. We've defined it. We've looked at the differences between variations, the 2 types, and examples as well, and the graphs that come up as a result of them. So variation is defined as the differences between individuals of the same species, and some variations can be divided into distinct groups. We call this discontinuous variation. It's not continuous. It's either this or that. It's either your blood group A or B, or O. It's either your tongue roller or not. However, some variations can fall into a wide range of values. So every time you have a wide range of values where the intermediaries, we call that continuous variation. And yeah, that's just what variation is. It is very important for the survival of species. And an interesting question right now. Think about this challenge, this challenge I'm posing. What do you think might occur if individuals between the same species lacked variation? If we had no variation at all? There are so many reasons. There would be organisms would be susceptible to diseases, adaptation challenges would occur, we would have inbreeding risks, there would be reduced evolutionary potential, and that would impact heavily on ecologically. It will impact heavily on ecological systems. So diversity through variation is essential for the health, adaptability, and long-term survival of species. I hope you have learned and enjoyed a lot, and I hope you have learned a lot and enjoyed this class. And if you have watched this video to this point, thank you. Please remember to subscribe and leave your comments in the comment section. If you got any questions or any topics you want me to cover, I'll do so. Go ahead.